buck fever is real, and in some cases, the cases are extreme. I had my cousin, I will not tell you which cousin it was for fear of being shot, but we were in Grove Hill, Alabama one time on a deer drive, and these 5 bucks came up this draw, and I was on one side of a little hill, he was on the other, and as they got up this draw, they had to go one way on this hill. They went his way, and he was hunting with an old Mossberg bolt action, 3-shot bolt action. And I hear this, right, I'm thinking, I'm finna hear some shooting. There's some bucks hitting the ground. Yeah. And I hear this racking going on over there and no shooting. It's in the rack. So I run over there, I said, Aunt, well, no. I meant Jack. What are you doing? And he says, I got him. I says, you hadn't even shot. He said, I shot 3 times. I said, you hadn't shot. And look beside him and laying there on the ground are 3 fully loaded shotgun shells. He hadn't pulled the trigger. He thinks he shot in and he pulled the trigger. That's buck fever. Have you ever seen anything like that before?
Something similar happened to me, actually. You know, my very first, if I had killed it and retrieved it, it would have been my first deer. And it was a doe, so it was actually doe fever.
Doe fever.
But I was blocking on a Iowa deer drive, and I was on a tree leaning over the Des Moines River, and it was froze over early December. And a group of antlerless deer filed down, and they're crossing the ice on the river, and I shoot, and I made a poor shot. I hit the hind end of a doe, and her hind end dropped. All the other deer ran off, and she was scrambling to get going again, and so I started pumping my gun, and it got jammed, and I got so excited, I literally fell out of the tree, crashed onto the ice, and look up, and that doe scrambles up over the bank and disappears. And not knowing any better, I get right on the blood trail and get right after her, and I pushed her for about 3 miles and never recovered her.
No.
But I was so excited.
I'm glad to see you okay, because that could have been bad, man.
It could have, yeah.
Duncan?
Well, I had an experience years ago when I was hunting with a recurve bow and really learning how to hunt. And I was hunting in an area that hadn't been open to deer hunting in Georgia for very long. There were some big bucks there. I had 2 really big rack bucks come out 20 yards away, standing broadside, just standing there looking at me. I shot every arrow. I think I had 6 arrows in my quiver. I shot behind them, under them, over them, and they just stood there. I mean, they just stood there looking at me. I shot every arrow I had, didn't come close, and they finally just walked off.
I have to admit I did that too. I shot every arrow, got down and got him, and shot him again, and never did hit a deer. Oh, Lordy. Blaine, I know you've never had buck fever.
Oh, I've had serious buck fever before, but this one particular instance I remember. I was hunting with a friend of mine in Missouri, and him and his wife had this huge buck came out. You know, they were bow hunting right up under the stand. He was sitting there making a scrape, and she said her heart, you got to beat so fast. She said her ears started ringing, and she thought she was going to faint, you know, literally. And luckily she had a safety harness on. But that's just, you know, buck fever.
Did she ever get the shot off?
No, she said she never even pulled her bow back. And this buck, 5-yard, 160 class buck, just walked right up under the stand and kept going.
She's in good company. That's happened to others too. Bailey, I know you've never had buck fever.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Actually, you know, the first time I ever experienced buck fever was with 4 does, and they were walking up the trail towards me, and I just uncontrollably just started shaking and shaking. I knew I couldn't get it together, and I just watched them walk off. And it took me about 20 minutes to get it together. And it was absolute paralysis, and that's what I experienced.
You know, the first antlered buck I ever saw in my life, I hate to tell this story, I was hunting with my wife Debbie's uncle, and this buck was on this island in the flooded Tom Bigby River bottom, and he was about 150 yards away, and this guy Edward told me, shoot that buck. And I had been practicing with my rifle. I could shoot this rifle. It was a 222, and we'd had competition, and I looked at that buck, and I just threw that gun up, and I pointed it in his general direction, and I shot. I never looked through the scope. I just shot. I hoped the boom would kill him. And I remember thinking, when that bullet hit the water, he was on an island, there was water there, that bullet hit the water about 50 yards in front of him, and Edward turned to me and says, you hit closer to us than you did to him. And I mean, I remember, I never even looked through the scope. I just pointed that way and shot. And I learned then, if I'm going to kill a deer with a rifle, I've got to actually aim the gun at it.
And look through the scope.
And look through the
man.
scope. That's what that scope was for, and I forgot to do it. Buck fever is real. There are countless stories of that. And you know, it's whether you're hunting with a bow or muzzleloader or rifle, it doesn't matter. And it comes in all forms. It comes, my partner, I won't say which partner here, my partner had what we call mystery misses. He was calm, he was collected. Chuck, I am talking about you. Calm, he was collected. And he'd have this mystery miss. And he finally says, it's buck fever. He said, there for a minute, I just went blank. I just forgot what I was doing. We called it a mystery. He's a great shot, but every now and then he'd just have a mystery miss. And he finally said, it's buck fever. I just kind of blank out there for a minute. You couldn't see it, but it was real. He was having it.
It happens to everybody.
Yeah,
It does. It does. You got to learn to control it, but you're not going to get rid of it. And the bigger the antlers, the greater the chance for buck fever. And does will do it
Doe
too.
fever
won't
too.
they?
You bet.
Buck fever, doe fever is real. Buck fever is for real. It's a part of hunting, and it's because you love it that you get it. So just learn to control it. You got to live with it.
That's right.